So it's August 13th. It's a Wednesday. And for a lot of Microsoft customers, this is going to be remembered as a really important date because it was the morning after Microsoft announced that effective November 1st, 2025, they're getting rid of their EA volume licensing, price levels, waterfall discounting that comes with their EAs for the online services products, right? Things like Microsoft 365, D365, etc. So yeah, you heard that correctly. Many of you probably been scrolling through your LinkedIn and have seen some content out there already. It's being flooded. A lot of people are talking about it. Makes sense, right? This is a big deal. What I would tell you is most large enterprise customers that I have the privilege of working with, having the opportunity to talk to the executives at those customers, are not going to be happy. Okay? In fact, what I think is going to happen, before I get into the motivations and the specifics and all of that, what I think is going to happen, in fact, I know is going to happen, is that these executives, especially ones that have executive level sponsorship type interactions, especially those that have spent a significant amount of money already with Microsoft, and there's many of them, especially those that have made commitments to things perhaps earlier than they needed to, customers that are also Azure customers that spend millions and made hundreds of millions of dollars in commitments and perhaps didn't go with GCP or AWS, customers that have a large LinkedIn profile, customers that renewed unified support even though perhaps they didn't really want to or need to. They're going to be upset and they're going to push back very hard, and they should. So Microsoft, I think in a lot of ways perhaps, and they're very smart, maybe testing the market a little bit with this announcement. Kind of came out of nowhere, although, I had heard some rumblings, some people that I interact with. But I do think there's going to be pushback, right? And that's probably obvious, right, Adam? Hey, no kidding. But when I say pushback, I mean pushback to the point where you're going to start hearing conversations like, hey, we were considering Microsoft 365 Copilot, or we were considering doing more than 300 and now going to 10,000 or 50,000 or 100,000. We're not doing that anymore. And we were thinking about having Microsoft Azure as our SAP Rise hyperscaler, but we're not doing that anymore. Unified support, yeah, we're going third party, see ya. LinkedIn, nah, we're gonna cut the costs. Dynamics 365, we have 2 more years left on that, but Salesforce is pretty aggressive right now. They would love to get our business, like that type of pushback. And perhaps Microsoft was preparing for it, right? All I know is the customers we're going to work with, we're certainly going to orchestrate this the right way, starting with empowering, coaching, advising on the conversation that has to be had, right? Which is the email that needs to be sent, subject line, are you serious? I need to chat. CIO to executive sponsor at Microsoft to set the marker. Now, what's going on, right? It's pretty simple. Most of you know this. If you're under an EA, level A, level B, level C, level D, comes with discounting just programmatically based upon volume. So if you're 2,400, right? So over 2,399 subscriptions, and you go to 5,999, you're level B. You get about a 6% discount for that. 6,000 to 14,999. You get a 9% off of the ERP, right? The estimated retail price. And then level D, a lot of out there, the customers we work with, 15,000 plus, that's level D, 12% off of the estimated retail price, okay? So by removing that, massive increases at renewal. So anyone who has a renewal post November 1st, that's what's coming. Anyone who's buying an online service that's not already in your CPS, this is what's coming. Now again, most customers out there that are large have the volume discount plus additional discounting. So if you think about this, that's going to be a massive uplift that Microsoft wants to put on the table. Okay? So that's number one motivation. ARPU, average revenue per user. Microsoft talks about it at their earnings call. They spent a lot of time on the last earnings call. That's an instant bump in that price. Again, I don't think it's going to land well. I think if you do it correctly, you should be able to overcome that increase on a programmatic basis, staying with the EA. On-premise software is not included, right? So all you customers that are sitting there, hey, I'm good on that front. Well, that pricing typically didn't get as much discounting anyways, okay? But you still have to make sure to account for that and understand that. Another motivation, right? So I talked about increase in ARPU. It's using this to get what they want. So what could happen, likely will happen, they're going to say something like, hey, I don't know, my hands are tied. That discounting is not available under the EA anymore. So your price is what it is. Maybe I could do something for you. That uplift, unfortunately, I understand it's a 35% uplift to your current pricing. Maybe there's something I could do, but the maybe is going to mean more adoption of Copilot 365 or Copilot Studio, Microsoft 365 Copilot. Moving everyone to E5, right? Teams Premium, Power BI, Fabric, whatever it may be. If you do that for me, I probably can work with you, right? So they're going to use this as a lever to get what they want. Again, I don't think that's going to land well, but that's clearly a motivation. The third one, moving customers to the MCA E, right? Or MCA. This has been going on for a while. They've been trying to get customers to move to that structure by removing volume discounting, which is one of the bigger differentiators that comes with an EA because it doesn't exist under the MCA. By doing that, you've leveled the playing field. There is no competition between the contracting models. So I do think they're going to use this to push customers into that MCA. I think customers are probably going to start thinking about the CSP, or maybe Microsoft, especially for some of the smaller ones, maybe perfectly fine customers moving to the CSP model. That's obviously more partner driven. It comes with support. There's more flexibility in CSP around payment terms and flexibility in the contract terms, monthly payment, so forth and so on. But going back to that MCA, they've been trying to do this, right? Moving customers, forcing them into this, digital construct, this enterprise agreement where there is no expiration in the agreement, although you can negotiate terms tied to products. It doesn't require minimums. From SA is not included. So that's not included. On-premise, SQL, from SA, not included under an MCA. So if you're a customer, you're going to still have to have something in place there, right? You're going to have to. On the MCA, there's no price locks, unless, of course, you negotiate them in. So that means in term, but post-term. Annual true-up model's gone. There's no minimums under an MCA. So again, I'm going to spend a lot more time on this, and certainly happy to reach out if we want to talk more about MCA and the pros and cons, and CSP and the pros and cons. But the bottom line is this. This is big news. I expect massive pushback from the customer base. I think Microsoft knows that. I think Microsoft is arming themselves to try to get the ARPU, try to increase those margins, but also use these increases as an opportunity to say, hey, if you can still do this for me, I might be able to do something here. We're talking more about this. I have a lot of calls already lined up, both with reporters, financial community, clients, prospects. We try to put as much information as I can out there on this, but just be mindful of this. Yes, this is a big deal. Of course it is. But if you do things right, if you arm yourselves appropriately, look at your utilization. Understand there might be options where you can move down from E5 to E3 or E3 to E1. You have competitive landscapes in certain areas, Power BI, right? Dynamics 365, the Azure cloud. Arm yourself appropriately. Get ahead of it. And as part of getting ahead of it, I said it before, get those executive sponsor level discussions locked down and make sure Microsoft hears the message. Don't wait.